6 o'clock, so we'll get started, please.
Okay, we have the city clerk here tonight. Their budget clearly was affected by staffing, which we have agreed to carry forward the staff person that was in ARPA. That's why you see it funded at 4.5 rather than 5. That's the major area. Other than that is some small items that pretty much stayed the same. I'll turn it over to our city clerk now, Roseanne. Roseanne? You want to just do Q&A?
Sure.
I'll put the mic a little closer.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, if it's close enough.
Questions,
Can you hear me?
members? Yeah, Alderwoman Hayes.
If you wouldn't mind sharing with us what you anticipate the impact of the early voting that is now in place, that we just went through in April, anticipated maybe in August, and then again in November. What impact do you anticipate having on the city clerk's office?
So early voting really doesn't affect us like absentee does. However, I've been informed that absentee is going to be a question on the ballot in November. So no excuse absentees, which if it still lies on the city clerk after that, if it goes through, it's going to be a major undertaking. And some of you who were here in 2020 know how that was. We did like 5,000 ballots then, which we had people 7 days, well, not 7, but 6 days a week with extra staff trying to get that completed. My hope is if they do to no excuse absentees, that they extend the time frame. Right now, it's a 4-week window. Maybe they can extend it to maybe 8 weeks or something to accommodate the load, because I think people will probably do absentee more than the early voting. As I can't say with the presidential primary if it was because of the choices or because people just didn't want to do early voting, but it was very light throughout the whole state. So that's all I know. I wish I knew better what was going to happen, but.
No, I didn't know if, like with absentees, if the ballots had to be stored.
But they come to us packaged. Basically, we just count what they've given us and put them away. So there's not as much labor on our side to take care of them as we do for the absentees. Absentees were very light. Again, I don't know if it was just because of the landscape of that primary. I don't know. But we didn't get many at all. It was mostly just our permanent people that we processed this past election. So time will tell.
Thank you. Other members' questions? Alderwoman Gould?
So thank you for being here tonight, Roseanne. So you're getting a part-time records clerk to help lighten.
Well, historically, this has been it was always a 5-person department. I mean, even before I started in 2002, there were 2 assistants actually, and the records clerk in addition to the city clerk. As you know, from 2012 on, we had a myriad of revolving door of people. And we did have, through ARPA, we were able to hire someone full-time who she was a wonderful person, but she went back to teaching. So we have just hired someone, she's just been there a month, and she's working out fabulously. So with the rest of the ARPA money and some extra funding, hopefully this doesn't get cut, and we'll be able to keep her at least till next July and see where we are. But it does make things work much better. We're able to maintain and get extra things that really need to be done instead of just the daily work and, okay, the day's over now. And as you know, with elections and the different seasons with the dogs and et cetera, people having time off, whatever, we really do need that extra person. It makes it work instead of we go home and we're like, oh my God, where do we go next? So, yeah.
I hope it will be helpful to have that half-time person.
It does. It definitely will.
Thank you.
Thank you. Other members' questions? I just have one, and it may not be, you may not have the answer. I don't have the answer. That's why we're talking. But people have said to me, if the no excuse ballot question passes, that does not necessarily mean early voting would go away. Would it not take a legislative act to change that?
As far as I'm understanding, yes. They both would be in place until they decided that they want to take away one or the other. And I doubt they'll ever take away absentee, so.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
All right, thank you very much.
All set? Anyone else?
We're all set. Yep, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay, the next budget is on page 55. It's the city manager's budget. And other than the two line items for department head and regular employees, we pretty much held the ground on all the other items within the budget. I'll take any questions you might have.
Is it okay if I just about this, the city clerk's budget? That position it's a full-time position that's covered by ARPA funds for the first half of the year, and then covered by the general fund for the second half of the year. So it shows up as a half on that budget page, but it's a full-time position.
I said it, but not as clear as you. Okay.
Members have questions?
Yeah, no,
Anybody?
Okay, next budget is finance, and I'm going to turn it over to Josh to make the presentation.
Good evening. I handed out just a quick summary of the items that the finance department, treasurer, and on the flip side, the assessor handle. Yeah, in my budget, there's really hasn't been much for changes. We've got 13 staff in the department. We took on parking administration the last year. I think we run pretty efficiently, and if anyone has any questions, please let me know.
Alderman Betancourt,
Just
please.
a comment. I mean, a couple of weeks ago, I had a chance to come visit for a bit, and everybody got a good crew there. They're awful busy, and certainly it's budget time. So I've dealt with Orla on several things so over this time period, and I've been I would say extremely pleased regarding those interactions and stuff. So.
Oh, thank you.
And obviously, you've won a few awards over the years, so for the department. So I have to say that generally speaking, with one or two exceptions that, I have to say, you've done an impressive job there, so.
Thanks, Mark.
Other questions, comments? Alderman Gould?
Just one question for in the capital, Josh?
Yes.
Core network switch replacements, $500,000?
Yeah, I was going to bring that up if someone else didn't. So that's and if you look at the picture there, you can see where the money is going. It's a massive wires. And I asked Ray to join us so that he can do a better job explaining the importance of these core network switches than I could.
Please identify yourself. Could you use the other mic at the table? That's,
No, it's okay. He can
I can use the open mic.
thank you.
stand or sit and still do the same thing, right? Yeah.
Raymond LaRose, IT manager. So that about $500,000 covers about 6, 7 network switches between here, PD, and there's actually 2 at fire headquarters. They are the backbone of the servers that we have here and all of the connectivity for every workstation, printer, everything at the police department.
It's like the central nervous system for information.
Okay. It's the brain of the operation, and that's why it costs $500,000.
Everything flows through them in terms of everything here at City Hall flows through the 4 switches here. Everything at the police department flows through the 5 switches there. Same thing at the fire department. They provide connectivity for all those sites, and the City Hall sites provide services throughout all of the city for every department in terms of file shares and different services that we host.
And how long do we expect that these will last?
The original switches were actually purchased in between 14 and 15, and they have a life of between 10 and 15 years.
A lot of money for cables.
Yeah, it's the units that the cables plug into. That's
They fiber switches?
Yes.
Yeah, that's the cost, yeah.
Yeah, they're.
That's why they're so expensive.
And the problem that we're running into is the switches that we bought in 2014, 2015. They were more copper heavy, and we're moving to higher speed uplinks, and the switches that we have, A, don't have the capacity, and B, unfortunately, are more expensive because you go into that next grade.
So you will realize better performance with these switches also then?
Yeah, and the
More
intention-
throughput,
Exactly, and the intention is also to replace traditional switches with chassis switches, and
Yep.
the long and short of that really is that we, with our current infrastructure, we have a fixed port set. We have X number of ports in this configuration, X number of ports in this configuration, and we can't really expand or change that. Going to the chassis switches lets us change that going forward. We can replace or add or alter that without having to buy another $30,000 chassis. We can spend $10,000 and get a line card.
After a time, the companies that make these switches stop supporting them, and so patches stop being available, and it becomes a cybersecurity risk.
Probably, life on that is probably 5 years.
The big driver for us is in October of 2025, Cisco ends support, which means we can't get replacement of these switches. So if, for example, if we had a failure at the police department, you might have 50, 60 computers down. It could be dispatch, could be 911, and there wouldn't be any replacements. We'd have to self-replace, and that gets expensive.
I'm speaking a little out of school here, but to give you an example, what can happen, a very large local school recently had a failure, a switch failure, and almost caused, believe it or not, the postponement of school. And they had to work all weekend to to get it straightened out, or at least, they just move stuff from other switches or whatever until they could, and you know what it is like getting those replacements anyway, so you can't always get them when you need them, so. So those are pretty important.
Not glamorous, but.
Yeah, it's not glamorous, but they are important to day-to-day operations, just the way it is.
It is a pretty picture.
Yes.
I cherry-picked them a little bit.
Can we
Give you the full spaghetti.
Can we discuss cable management after this, or no?
It'll be a top priority when the
Yeah, I
bids
know,
get in.
I'm just joshing, of course.
Alderwoman Hayes.
So Josh, can I ask you what's going on with the update on the website for 2025? What, is it major update, moderate update? What
So
are we doing
with our contract with Civic Plus, that's the company has our content management system, runs our website. We get periodic refreshes in the look of the website. So while we're doing that, we'll probably see information that people look for most and try to make that more prominent and make changes of that sort, along with, making it more attractive.
So are you looking at other municipality websites?
Yeah, I think this website company hosts websites for probably at least 1/3 of the towns in Connecticut. So they have a pretty good idea of best practices for, current websites. So we'll probably see what their recommendations are and, survey some other websites and see what looks good and fits our needs.
So probably the area maybe wondering about is more on the marketing, promotion, and tourism on the website, if there's possibility to enhance and expand.
Okay. All right.
Tourism is what's pouring into this end of the state and anticipated to grow based on the report that was the meeting they had in the report that was released a couple of weeks ago. So Eastern Connecticut is one of the areas that is bringing in a huge more tourism dollars and working on how to be more attractive to visitors coming in the area.
Okay.
Thank you. Two things. Appreciate your comments on that, Alderwoman Hayes. In thinking about that, could the placement of those issues be more upfront in the website so that when you hit the website, those are featured and not have to dig into to find? If we're going to emphasize that, I think we should, as she points out, maybe we emphasize it right up front with the website itself featuring those. So,
Yeah, we could probably make that, it's one of the main drop-down menus or something. And I imagine we'd be linking to other resources rather than maintaining them ourselves because why reinvent the wheel? I think there's probably a number of calendars out there and tourism sites like Mystic Places or things like that.
Just my caution is we need to make sure that they're keeping their sites updated.
Yeah.
And that has not always, there's the core calendar. Depends on who goes in there, and there were 4 entities that had access to it. Not everybody was keeping it updated, even though there were 4 central organizations. So I'm just going to caution, but I think, there might be a way, even if it's to feature some of our own tour, not thinking of featuring some of our own, like when Uncle Sleep fully comes on board. How do we make sure that's front and prominent to get, as a tourist attraction?
Right,
to the,
I mean, it could be like one of the rotating pictures on the front, and you can click on it and find out more about it, and,
so, just,
yeah.
I think her point is if we have higher expectations of ourselves as we relook at this, you got to maintain it.
Yeah, we have to find,
Or
Trying to
the
do that.
expectations will, the
Yeah.
public's expectations will sour
yeah.
if it's not. Ray, just question back on, you happen to use the police as an example, if one of these switches goes down. What type of redundancy is built into this system to offset that occurring? Is there an automatic backup switch ready and able to carry on, or is it just completely off?
Currently, it depends on which switch fails. Some of the switches, for example, the ones at the PD that everybody connects to and our servers primarily connect to, one of those can go down and the servers have redundant connections. We don't have a way to have the workstations have redundant connections to the switches. We do, however, right now, unfortunately, have two single points of failure on the existing core and also the switch that we have that provides our handoff to the NPU network that connects everything else in the city and back to NPU, and the new design that we have proposed in the capital budget removes that single point of failure, and we have redundancy for everything except the workstations, which we just can't by the nature of how they connect.
And this would be a RFP through the purchasing agent to acquire, or have you already identified and secured them somewhat on a reserve to get them here as soon as possible? I'm thinking of what's the timing of this going to be?
We have some time, thankfully, which is why it's in this budget and not next fiscal, even though they expire technically in October of 2025. We felt that there wasn't enough time to ensure that we could properly procure and set up everything. So the intention is either to go out to RFP or leverage an existing state contract.
Okay.
There are a couple vendors on Cisco state contract right now.
Thank you. Members, other questions, concerns?
nope.
Thank you.
So, the finance budget's on page 59, on page 62 is the assessment department. And on page 64 is the treasurer. I can attempt to answer questions about the assessment department, or I can, follow up with Bill if there's anything I can't answer.
Does not appear any major changes.
No.
Yeah. Questions from anyone on the treasurer or assessment? Alderman Beck,
Just ask about the assessor's office. I know, obviously, he isn't here, but I would assume you would be in the know more or less. How have they dealt with the whole reevaluation thing? And obviously, Vision was doing most of the work, but certainly there's some on their end.
Yeah, I mean, it appears to me that they've been, right on top of it. All the while, I think Bill was training a few new staff during the time that they were doing the revaluation, so it seems like everything went along smoothly.
And it still went okay?
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
thank you. Other questions? No? Okay, all set. Thank you.
So for the treasurer on page 64, the biggest item you'll notice is that their employee cost decreased because in the current fiscal year, we budgeted for some overlap as the assistant to the city treasurer Ed Nkuzi is retiring this year, and we wanted to allow some time for training. And also, Mike Gualtieri stepped down, and Bob Buckley came in, so that all allowed some more time for the new people to learn their positions.
Questions, anybody?
Seems prudent. Works for me.
All set, I guess.
Okay.
The next budget is the mayor budget, which is on, well, actually, it's called City Council, which is on page 55. I'll start off with this. The major line item in this budget, other than the line items at the end, are budgets for the various commissions that the city has, up to and including Norwich Community Development. You'll note that I requested to the mayor that we increase this budget again this year to $250. A couple of thoughts behind that is one, that ARP is soon leaving us. They were able to supplement some of their revenue through administering their ARP programs, and that was about $2.5 million. As they wind down those projects, there will be less revenue coming in. And secondly, I look down the road to what's going on now. The major emphasis is to complete the projects that we initiated downtown on Main Street. They're still in the formative stages. They're about ready to go to construction, but not yet. NCDC is working very close with the new marina owners. They are kind of a liaison to that as we go into a whole nother area of investment there. So it's going to be a challenging area since the marina was neglected so much over the last few years. And then finally, the Ockham Industrial, I'm going to say park, but it's not park. What's it? Center. I keep on saying park. We are in some of the grant stages of the project. We have started to market the land that's up there, and just administering and working with the various consultants on this is a very time-consuming project alone. We direct the president of NCDC usually does most of that work. This additional money will allow him to delegate less crucial items to his staff, which will give him an opportunity to concentrate on that. I'm hopeful that as the park gets developed, and I believe it will get developed, that it will be a very positive impact on the city's revenue and ultimately the taxpayers of the city. Other than that, the budget is very status quo. There is salaries, and everything else is pretty much the same as the previous year.
Thank you, John. I handed out an email that Kevin forwarded this morning. He's away. if you know Kevin, and I think everyone here does, his commitment to the military and those who served continues to this day. He's participating in a marathon mud run at Boston this weekend, and he went a couple days early to get up there, but he wanted everyone to have the nuts and bolts of a lot of the results, including the private sector return on investment for every dollar, and all of that kind of stuff is in there. But John's correct, things are changing. The American Rescue dollars, it's ending by the end of December, whatever we have left. It's either allocated or it goes away. And at the same time, we have needs in the city, strategic ones. We have a very large employer who's contemplating expansion, and we hope that that remains here. But there'll be a lot of work going forward on that as well. They're also one of the largest taxpayers and utility users. Those are the kinds of companies you want to keep. But as other opportunities come on board, the reality is Kevin's there alone by himself. He has great support staff, and Mary and other people there, and then Scott Lassard has been very, very important, helping to position these companies, these small businesses that are listed on that email. But it's difficult when you don't have physical capacity and people with knowledge. Now, whether or not this means they could actually hire someone or not, I don't know. They're pretty frugal down there and try to use those dollars wisely and get a return on the investment. And I think they've done a tremendous job, particularly the last 2 years. And we want that to continue. There was an article that pointed out that Norwich, following COVID, was the city in the state of Connecticut that recovered the most. Now, that's only one economic measure, but it's nice to be written about in that manner across the state and shared in economic publications. We've had an edge. Clearly, that was enhanced when we hired Kevin Brown. And I just think he's a tremendous asset. Probably wouldn't want me to talk like that about him because he's also very modest, but the truth is the truth. We want to stay ahead of every other city and town in the state of Connecticut, if not Rhode Island and everyone else, in bringing economic opportunities here. We have tremendous I'm going to say risk. We have the ability, because the voters gave it, we got to build schools, but we got to pay for them. We will pay for them with new economic growth and new taxes and new utility sales. If that growth slows down or stops completely, we're in trouble as a community. And I just think the taxpayers are looking to us to keep the momentum going, and I'm going to stop talking. I feel like I already spoke too much. But please, anyone have questions? Alderwoman Hayes.
So before I get to my questions, I'd just like to follow up, Mayor, with what you're talking about. I will say that I had the pleasure of attending up in Hartford, the Downtown Main Street program that NCDC was one of the presenters. There was a community from Meriden, Hartford. And even though Hartford is the one that was being put front and center, I will say to you, I believe the work that we have accomplished, NCDC has accomplished with its downtown program and what the vision is to move in that direction far exceeds what Hartford or Meriden or Bristol. So I would support that based on, just looking at the programs that the state is putting front and center of saying these are their award-winning programs. So I do have a couple of questions, and some of this is for information for me. Sector in CCOG, or the COG, Southeastern, what is it, Council
Of governments.
of Governments, is that like, are those amounts given to us, or do we have a formula that's allocated as to what our share is to participate or be a member?
Yes, yeah, they're per capita charges, so based on, approximately 40,000 people.
Right?
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay, you're right, keep going. It is, yeah.
So it's X number of dollars and cents per capita.
It's a formula that we arrive at, okay.
Yes.
My other question has to do with the Sachem Fund, which I can't remember the last time we actually funded the Sachem Fund. I know it was before COVID. I know that over the years from its inception, there was reduction. Originally, I believe it was 250,000 each year over 5 years that was supposed to go in. And then there was a reduction when we hit the recession. But we were putting some in, and then we hit where we were putting zero in. Has there been any discussion? I know that there is a meeting in May, but I don't see in any of our discussions where that opportunity to go back and refund or start funding the Sachem Fund.
Well, the Sachem Fund at this point has approximately 33,000.
Yeah, I believe so.
33,000 left as a balance. And coincidentally, you asked that we're trying to get together a Sachem Fund meeting soon. I don't know if you've gotten, if we've gotten notices out or yet or not. But what to do with that 33,000 and then see where it's going as far as contributions in the future. But it's certainly on my mind to try to support that and get the Sachem Fund more active again.
Okay, only because going back to its inception, there was a reason the money, the allocations were, that was an agreement. And I guess my concern has been that we've let the agreement, by not funding it or not even having discussions of returning to funding on both the city side and the tribal side. I remember the last conversation before COVID, Mohegan Tribe was willing to start up an allocation, not to the level that, originally, but to have a conversation to restart both sides allocating money to the Sachem Fund.
Well, luckily, the Uncas Leap project has really brought the Mohegan Tribe kind of back into being more interested in the city. Not that they were never not interested, but this really has been significant for them. And I think we now have a much better dialogue again with Mohegan Tribe. As you know, they contributed in the first few years of the fund, and then that stopped. And when that stopped, then the city's contribution stopped. So I think it's an opportunity now to dialogue with them and to reinstitute that fund, because I think it serves a very unique purpose that can be fulfilled more directly by the type of projects that Sachem does.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for raising the issue. Initially, I think it was $200,000 from each party, and then that stopped for whatever reason, recession, anything else. We did put $50,000 in the Sachem Fund as a line item a number of years ago to try to stimulate the discussion with the tribe again. It didn't happen, just did not occur, and so then we didn't continue to do that because it was set up as a match. But I would welcome those opportunities to have those discussions again, and I think, John, you're correct. I know we talked about Uncas Leap back in 2013. There was a charrette organized at NFA. Jason Vincent, God bless his soul, organized all that. And, it's taken a number of years, but we have followed through. And keeping your word, keeping your commitment, standing by your convictions, that means a lot to all parties, no matter who you're talking about. And I do believe that will help lend itself to having those discussions further.
I think the way we treated the very sensitive historic components of the park vis-à-vis the Mohegan tribe, including we're reconstructing the stairs that lead out to
Burial grounds.
right, and what we're doing it with a platform. We're not even excavating into the soil, because that area has historically been known as a graveyard site. Unfortunately, they disposed of bodies just off the cliff. So I think we've been very sensitive to that. It's been very hard. They work with us and our Reagan Minor to do the explanative, I don't know what we call them, plaques.
Boards.
The storyboard?
That are in each stage of the park. So I think there's a lot of positive dialogue going now, and want to keep it going.
Very important. Thank you. Other questions? Okay.
Okay, we'll move on. Rob, you want to come up and we can get introduced too? Human Resources, I'm sorry, is on page 68. This is Rob Scalise, and I got that right.
You did.
I know, in the beginning I got it wrong. I put the E on it. But it's Scalise. He started probably about a month ago now, is it?
Just over 2 weeks, March 25th.
It seems more. It seems like you've always been here now already.
Is that a bad thing?
Okay,
That's a positive thing.
Okay.
yes.
And Bridget is still cross-training, and we're in the process of integrating Rob into all the collective bargaining stages that we're doing right now. And, talking about getting into the frying pan right away, you have to delve right into negotiations, and we'll be starting crucial negotiations with the fire department starting next week. We're in a crucial point in the police department negotiations. And Rob has his background. He's a trained lawyer who specializes in employee relations and that. So that's a great staff person to have and to rely on a lot. So we're very fortunate to have Rob here. As far as his budget, there's a little bit of overlap, but not much for this year. We've lost a couple of good employees this year, so we have a lot of transition going on at once in the department. Pat Olston retired during this fiscal year, and so we've had a complete turnover. One of our staff became the administrative person at the police department, to Chief Daly. So it's almost 100% turnover in a year. I'll let Rob say anything he wants to about the budget, and then we can take Q&A if you have anything to add at this point.
Okay, just one other item that besides, as John mentioned, besides the police contracts and fire contracts, will also be entering into negotiations with public works supervisors. So those are the three that police has started. Fire and public works supervisors are upcoming in the next month or so. We're just getting together with those two groups on ground rules in the next few weeks.
That's a small unit though, right?
Four individuals, yes.
Yeah, I didn't mean to slight them, but it is a four-person group, and we usually have amicable negotiations with them that get through pretty quickly. Take any questions you might have on line items.
Members, Alderwoman Hayes.
One question, you have the Assistant Human Resource Director at 50%. Is this because because it's vacant? Or why is it only 50% funded?
Go ahead.
Okay. So Human Resources has hired an additional human resources generalist right now. So it's been kind of a shuffle between the finance department and the human resources department. Sandy Cookta was the assistant human resources director. She came back to the finance department. So, and in reverse, Lisa Lapkowski in my office has taken a position in the human resources office. So I think the plan is to have the retirement plan administrator, all year, and 2 human resources generalists for a period of time, and then have a promotional exam probably for filling an assistant human resources director. And Rob, you can correct anything I might have gotten wrong there.
No, that's correct so far.
So that's the half early part of the year, having 2 human resources generalists, and then in the latter part of the year, looking to have a promotion to assistant human resources director.
So then it would go back to a full.
Yes.
All right, that gets to what I was saying about the transition and the big transition year. So it's reflected in the table of organization for next year.
And the delay in hiring for the assistant will allow me a period of assessment of the staff before any decisions are made on possible promotion.
Thank you. Other questions? Alderman Bentgood?
Has the present staff been there long enough to really be eligible, or?
Yes.
Okay,
Thank you.
answers that.
Pro Tem?
Simple.
I just want to say welcome to the city. I know we haven't met yet. I'm trying to chat when we wrap this up, but welcome aboard.
Thank you very much. Thank you to everyone. Everyone's been very gracious the last couple of weeks.
I would say, other than Josh, the person I talk to most frequently is the human resource person, and it's convenient right across the hall. So, Josh, it doesn't matter, he's downstairs, he can walk up the stairs in about 2 seconds. I don't know how he does it, but
3 at a time.
yeah, he likes the exercise.
He's got good knees.
So it's very important, that we were very fortunate to fill it like we did, and we've had a lot of turnover in key department heads over the last 6 months, and it will continue a little more, as you saw when we did the Public Works budget the other night. Very effective Public Works person. So we'll be working hard on that, and of course, human resources is very important in the recruitment testing stage. So.
Any other questions, concerns? Thank you very much.
Welcome.
So that completes the budget for
Bill is
tonight.
here. I don't know if he wants to.
Bill's.
Oh, well, we finished you already.
Okay, good. It was painless, right?
I mean, unless you have pearls of wisdom that handle all your questions. Yeah. We have a public hearing scheduled tonight. You were efficient in getting through the first segment in less than an hour and a half, so we really have a kind of a recess till 7:30 for the public hearing. And I'll come up there for the public hearing.
Thank you all.